Buganda. The origin of the unrest were the Mailo historical injustices. Landlords in Buganda feared that what they believed to be a communist NRM regime was soon going to capture power and expropriate had captured power and would expropriate their lands. Although their position remained at law, that Mailo was now state-owned. It was state-owned land under 1975 land reform decree. But it didn't stop people. They were now rushing to sell, and despite this decree. As I said, it was never operationalized. I mean, he had so many things to do, and was fighting for his life, so he had no time to put this into operation. But NRM came and find this unrest. Ladies and gentlemen, the Mailo landlords therefore decided to sell off their lands before the speculated expropriation by the communist NRM regime took place. Since selling of these lands involved evictions of tenants, bibanja holders, there was a lot of social unrest and tension. This buyer would say, nze njagala okutali muntu, so we'll go and evict them so that he can get the market. The NRM government therefore embarked on land reform measures which were intended to effect a change in land rights in Uganda. The land reform moved away from the 1975 land reform decree position, where all land in Uganda was public land, to the current position, where all land belongs to the people of Uganda and vested in them under any of the 4 tenure systems recognized under Article 237, Article 1 and 3 of the Constitution, namely Mailo, freehold, leasehold, customary tenures. Public land is now managed by both the Uganda Land Commission under Article 239 and district land boards under Article 241 of the Constitution. You know, there was supposed to be regional land boards to cater for the interests of Uganda, but those who were the Buganda, I don't know, the Mengo people rejected the regional tier and regional land reform. And what is the controversy is that what they rejected is not what they are doing. They rejected that regional tier where land in Buganda, public land, would have been managed by their own Buganda regional tier land board, regional land board. They rejected it, but now they're getting the same thing through the Land Act. The Buganda Land Board, because now virtually Buganda has no public land anymore, because they have claimed it and nobody's challenging them. They have taken all the Masaza lands, all the Gombo lands, all the former Crown lands, because they have that land, what they call the Buganda Land Board. And when you look through, you will see on the Constitution it's Buganda Land Board. Nobody questions that it was a constitutional body. So now all land in Buganda is off the shelf, which is with that body, whose legal status I've always challenged. Yet it had been provided for under the regional tier, and it's still there in the books, just at the regional government. It was assumed to be accepted, but then it never operationalized. Those are some of the questions, the political questions which you wonder, why do you allow such thing to continue daily, and you allow this to continue? Is that democracy, what we call democracy? Is being backward democracy? I wonder. The NRM amendments to land ownership coincided with the introduction of the institution of traditional or cultural leaders under Article 246 of the 1995 Constitution. Treated by the Mailo landlords as a return of their power and rule. They started selling land, demanding rents, increased entry fees, what they call kanzu, and also persuaded tenants to sell their bibanja. Gentlemen and ladies, The Mengo Mailo Land gentry, on the other hand, were not, although they got this, they were not satisfied with the restoration of kingdoms as cultural institutions under Article 246 of the Constitution. They therefore demanded that the kingdoms be given political power and that Buganda as a region be restated as a single administrative unit in opposition to Article 176 of the Constitution, which provided that Uganda shall be based on the district as the administrative unit. They thus agitated for federal akin to what had obtained in Article 2 of the 1962 Constitution, where Uganda had two separate units of administration, namely federal unit and district. They further demanded that Kabaka must have chiefs and land under his direct control, as opposed to the 1995 Constitution provision where public land is administered either under Uganda Land Commission, pursuant to Article 237, 38, and 239 of the 1995 Constitution, or district land boards under Article 240 and 241 of the 1995 Constitution. Of course, these demands, they are still in the air, but they are de facto. We hear now of Sata chiefs, and they are given cars by the de facto kingdom, de facto federal unit. The Gombora chiefs are given also means of travel, of transport. Their chiefs now up to the lowest level in direct. Now, if the traditional ruler has no administrative, legislative, and other powers, then what powers has he conferred on us? This is now Saza chiefs who are all over the country. Wherever there is a RDC, there's now in Singo, which used to be one chief, now there are four districts. Therefore, there's a chief there who is superior. There's a chief of Singo, but in Singo doesn't exist. It has 4 districts. So, but there's a Southern chief there. These are all direct contradiction of the Constitution. But we have allowed, we see them happening, and we leave them. And the people who do nothing eventually find something to do. You have Batongre. One time Batongre came to my home in the village and came with a sheet that I contribute to the work of Sawasaja in the area. I said, where is the accountability? He closed his file and went away. These are there. When some areas where I go to, they introduce them to me. I said, but what is their status under the administration? Because we have an administrative role, it's not there. But they are everywhere. So they have the de facto what they demanded, not the jury, not legal. But de facto can be more powerful than the jury. Recently, I wrote a very controversial article in the papers and showed, I actually wrote it and showed that the structure now at Mengo is trying to take power through that structure. It was very controversial, it went all over, I was called all kinds of names. But why do you put it there at all? There's a constitution. Why don't you observe it? There's a constitution. We have RDC. Constitution has 2 structures. There's a central government with a structure. Local government, which is in 2. Political party, political wing, under LC 5 and his team. LC 3 and the team. LC 1 and the team. The executive arm, RDC, deputy RDC, and their team. They are all there. Now, why do you introduce this structure? What is this doing there? These are the questions. You talk of land and what, But if you don't tackle these problems, or these things you are introducing, the problem in Uganda has not been failure to settle the land issue. All the brains I've told you have seen from 1928 are doing it, but the lack of it's the politics which keeps spoiling. Ladies and gentlemen, it appears the Mengo agitation was too much for the Constitutional Assembly, to the extent that the 1995 Constitution evaded the task of totally resolving the land tenant question and instead passed the bill to Parliament under Article 237, Article 9 of the Constitution. They feared, remember, that time Mengo was really very, despite the fact the Constitution was in place, deprived of any legality, but it was very strong, as even today. Very strong. And the Parliament feared. And in Article 237, Sub-Article 9 stated, within 2 years after the first sitting of Parliament elected under this Constitution, Parliament shall enact a law, regulating the relationship between the lawful or bona fide occupants of land, referred to in Clause 8, those are the bibanja owners of this, and the registered owners of that land, providing for the acquisition of registrable interest in the land by the occupant. So they pushed it away 2 years. Leasehold can be converted to freehold. So why don't you have one tenure system, one freehold for all Ugandans in perpetuity? B, continue to convert customary tenure into freehold tenure as stipulated under Article 237(4) A and B of the Constitution, but ensure the observance of all the customs and norms which should be stated as condition on the freehold title. It's freehold, but put there their customs. C, maintain leasehold tenure for non-citizens, provide that only government can extend leaseholds. Citizens will not create leasehold out of their freehold rights when everybody has freehold. Disentangle the multiple overlapping and conflicting interests and rights on Mailo tenure through converting the Mailo into freehold, buying off the freehold portion being occupied by bibanja holders and offer them to bibanja holders, giving them freehold tenure, security of tenure in perpetuity. Rather bit repetitive, but convert all leasehold into freehold, including those already provided under Article 237, Sub-Article 5, to give all Ugandans freehold, one single freehold tenure system in perpetuity for God and my country.
Guno kibadde mukolo mulungi nnyo oguli nga theme eriko ekwata ku Mailo Land platform. Mailo kye kintu ekyaleetebwa buleetezi mu Uganda naye kinyigiriza abantu okumala kati emyaka 12 kasookedde abazungu baleeta ekintu kino eky'ettaka. Eky'ettaka bwe kyaleetebwa kyasanga abantu bali bateredde ku ttaka lyabwe bonna tewali abakoonako, kati ekintu ne kijja all of a sudden ne kiyuzayiza eggwanga. Abantu mu Buganda mu kiseera kye walimu miliyoni 2, abantu nga 3 bokka bafuna ettaka, abalala bonna bafuuka mu mboozi. Okuva mu kiseera ekyo okutuusa leero tewali nnyo afudde ku bantu bano, era generations nga 4 otwala life expectancy nga myaka 4. Eno generation yakuna ng'abantu babonaabona abaana baabwe n'abazzukulu baabwe kwegamba kiyita generation abasooka baafa naye mantu gye baza kubatirira bali abalina nga bakyalina n'abaana abawansi banyigizibwanga mu busuulu 28 bw'enkyukakyuka niera tekyabajjaako babagamba nti mwe busuulu naye ettaka lyaffe liri batwala tulirifuna ddi kakati enkyukakyuka ezaddako kyalinga 75 etteeka erya land form dikuli naye kyonna ate kyajjawo bujja tekyalina kyekyatwongerako kati ekizeeko ng'ekituyambye liteeka lino erya constitutional kati yali empya neya NRM ya 95 eyagaa ti ettaka ly'abantu bonna naye nga tenants ezo Mailo, customary, freehold, leasehold naye nga zonna zi ending up freehold kyokka ow'ekibanja alina security tannaba kufuna kyapa obubonanyirivu obwo kubanga constitution egambye muri 237 sub article 1 land vests to citizens of Uganda belongs to citizens of Uganda vests in them in accordance with the tenure system kugamba okuba n'ettaka lyo lyonna nga kosi buganda olina okuba ng'olina emu ku tenure system ez'ennya ow'ekibanja talinaako n'emu naye alina protection ffe tugamba ti protection eyo temala afune ekyapa naye asobole okuba nga atuukiriza ekyo constitution kyegamba fera mwene eyise mu bintu ebeddamu abantu bakulu ba professor mubaddemu abangi nnyo vice chancellor wa university sasobodde yennyini naye aweereza deputy vice chancellor mubaddemu ba academician bangi nga ba Dr. Rose Sankayi mubaddemu ba professor Samuel Nyigo mubaddemu n'abalala ab'ebibanja association abo nali sibamanyira mbagati bulijjo lwaki temujja bwe bali abaland owners association eyagalabuzi Bukasa naye abaddewo kitegeddeko nti n'ejenosale olwasooka yazzeeko wano naye naye omanye ebitaka bya bimunyumira nnyo era nange badde interactinga naye kwegamba all spectrum ebadde wano okwogera ku byettaka kati mbuulira abantu bonna ate gaze mu speech yange ndaze nga President Museveni bw'azze akwata ku byettaka kubanga abantu babasinga bali ku ttaka balina okuyiba n'ekyo kyetuyita security of tenure si security of occupancy kati tubakuumidde ku security of occupancy twagala security of tenure yeyo president gyazze agoba era ekyo kyetukwata nti buli muntu munnauganda abe nga alina obwannannyini ku ttaka obwenkomeredde obutamuweebwa buweebwa bw'aba atunze kale atunze ku bubwe bw'aba ageze ebbanka neyegulirawo ate nga esystem erina okutwala mu world financial system nti buli ttaka lina okuba surveyed and titled libe ne value ensi yaffe eyibuke okutuuka ku next level ndowooza in short mbunfipi ekyo kyetubaddeko olunaku lwonna abakumakya tubadde wano n'abadde lwakaayo eggulo naye era aventure amuye on time era mbaddemu ekiseera kyonna olw'eggwanga lyaffe nenjamalize nakano President Museveni yawadde directive n'agamba nti abo abasobola ku ssente eggwanga lyerina obutateganyiza bantu be bana as a minimum intervention bagende basabe compensation ekyo president akikoze out of his great heart of course fege bali abagamba nti ate ocompensating ati naye nga president w'eggwanga lino asazeewo nti tewali ajja kuviiramu bwereere ow'ekibanja ojja kufuna ekyapa kyo nga system nga bwe kirandikiddwa mu constitution ne mu directive za president kaakati naawe nga tonafuna kyapa kyo beera ne security of occupancy zezo presidential direct ye article 237 sub article 8 yeyo presidential directives zonna eya 22 February eya 20 February 2013 28 February 2022 naziziruka kati zezo kati okugamba toke nga tetunaba bonna awo wetusobola intervention eryo ttaka kati ligule land fund nga bwe tusobola abo abantu bafune ng'eggolo we nabadde lwakaayi n'abagambye nti kakati gwe w'ekibanja ow'ekyapa omuntu omu ogambye nti mmwe abantu 7 temule gye mudda President Museveni atadde mu ssente mutonotono genda bakusasula abantu ba president ab'eggwanga lino babeere mulembe mu security of tenure
kati
agambye nti ojjawo Buganda n'ojjawo n'emmengo waba wakyaliwo pulogulamu y'ettaka mu Uganda mugambye nti ekyo kyo kiringa ng'ekituufu naye ate si kituufu bulungi kubanga Buganda is part of Uganda naye abazungu bwe badda enakani amaanyi bagasa mu Buganda ettaka ne baligabanyako abantu abatono mu Buganda abantu abatono abo ne baba nga bakigumya abalala that will make up about 80%. Ekintu ekyo kikyusibwa okumala emyaka 20 ate abo abaweebwa ettaka ery'obwereere bamala emyaka 7 nga be bafuga Uganda. Buganda mubayita okufuga Uganda si kyangu okukyusa by just a wave of the power. Naye kati sisitemu etandikiddwawo kiba ttaka ejja kujja nti kati mwe temulina byapa kati ffe tulina ebyapa muveewo kati zezo directive za president kyokula nti bonna era kirabika abasinga abo baana ba ku television ngati ng'ozaako abantu ng'okola ekyo kirina okukolebwa to enforce the law nga bw'omanyi kasookedde ensi nebaawo Katonda yagamba nti tottanga naye abantu bakyatta ne bakwatibwa naye twagala okukijjawo President Museveni ng'ayita mu constitution article 237 sub article 8 ng'ayita mu directives agambye temubakwatako naye kyokka waliwo bano abajja ne babagobako kakati first of all tubakwata nga president yalagira number 2 process ey'okubawa ebyapa kuba bajja tibakwate mulina byapa katika buli muntu afune ekyapa naye ng'ekyo tekirina kituukako ka tubawe security ya presidential directives abakwatibwa tujja bakwata abaganyi betuwulirawo wonna nga tubakwata n'abo betusobola okuliberatinga straight away nti kati lugule ku sente zetulinawo kubanga oli yakola valuation yagamba nti okusasula abamataka bonna trillions 46 tetuzirina zonna wamu nezo tulinawo president atadde wali mu land fund ti awo kale intervention katutagule abebanja baliwo ffe buli bantu baggwanga kati ettaka tuli bagulidde mwe musalawo okwegabanya so solution ejja sitejja kuba mangu emyaka 7 ng'oli akutuddeko ate bwejjaggwako 66 Uganda tetiriraanga kati Muzeeyi Museveni Ssabalwanyi akirongoosaako ekikulu nti kikolebwako.
The first platform was held on June 19th, 2025 at the Central Teaching Facility Auditorium just across, and it brought together a cross-section of stakeholders, not limited to but including academia, of course, who are the hosts, but also officials from government, including the Ministry of Lands, but also development partners and traditional leaders all participated in that platform. The main objective of that platform, Honorable Minister, was to create a forum for continuous dialogue, research and advocacy around issues of Mailo. That was the main objective of that platform. And Honorable Minister, I'm happy to inform you that we successfully launched the platform on that day, and it has given birth to the next 2 platforms, including this one. And one of the key resolutions in that platform was one on issues of Mailo regarding the solutions, the potential solutions, that we should prioritize the 4 options that are provided for under the law, including but not limited to land sharing and buying out, and all those models that try to bring together the landlord and tenant so that they can have a harmonious relationship on the land. Secondly, it was also resolved that there should be as much effort as possible towards standardization of documentation on Mailo Land, including but not limited to issuance of certificates of occupancy to tenants on Mailo Land, but also cleaning up the Mailo Land cadastre so that we can have reliable data that can be relied upon when addressing Mailo Land surveys and documentation. The third one was strengthening dispute resolution on Mailo Land, especially between the landlord and tenants. And we know heavily tenanted Mailo Land always has issues. Professor Musibuzi has told us that where the values are increasing, there are disputes increasing also. So it's not only a land rights issue, but also an economic issue relating to the fight for land in areas where the economic values are increasing. The third one was revamping the land fund and ensuring that it serves the purpose for which it was created. And in that meeting, members actually were informed that the land fund is not as operational as it appears, because it doesn't have the funds to acquire or buy out interests of landlords who are owning tenanted land. And then the other one was recognizing the role of cultural leaders in managing land, especially on Mailo Land. The role of traditional leaders has not been given its rightful prominence, and that has been a gap in trying to resolve issues on Mailo Land.